Well, Ricky, we're here today talking about that momentous fight you had with Floyd Mayweather back in Las Vegas 13 years ago, 2007.
13 years
December.
ago makes me feel a bit old, but good memories, wonderful times, you know, for not just for myself, but brought a lot of happiness to a lot of fans that night, even though it didn't go our way, you know, because people still remember it to the day, yeah.
Well, I do. I've been rummaging around in my attic and I found these things, right? My pass that is pristine from the day.
Yep.
An 8-page broadsheet supplement I wrote in the Telegraph at the time. Have a look at that.
Wow, yeah. Yeah. That picture is from the Castillo fight, which ultimately the Castillo performance set up the Mayweather fight, didn't it? Because Floyd went previously 24 rounds with
he did.
Castillo, and I beat him in 4 and called him out.
81 fights between you?
Yeah, but undefeated, the pair of us, yeah. When you're the kid off the council estate, growing up, you first walk in the boxing gym as a 10-year-old, you dream of being a world champion and nights such as this, but not nights like this, where you probably fight arguably maybe the greatest fighter of all time. So the boy did good. Yeah.
Let's see the build-up to it then.
And you see the strip there in Las Vegas, just the strip, because I grew up watching Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, Mike Tyson, Frank Bruno, all appearing in this city, and that's still just seeing the strip lit up in lights. I think for any boxer, still puts a tingle down your spine, definitely.
5 of your last 8 fights were in Las Vegas as well, weren't they?
Yeah, they liked me there, and no wonder with the crowds that we brought over. And it was as the crowds got bigger. The first one against Juan Urango at the Paris, that was, you can see the Paris there just on the right. I think there was about 5,000 went to that one, and then the Castillo one there was 10,000, and then for the Mayweather fight, which is where we're at now. It was on the, look at this, unbelievable.
Someone offered me 15 grand for my ringside seat that night.
Incredible.
You know, as I was going in to cover the fight.
And it's like seeing the fans like this is what it's. I've always been a people's person. I've always been a fan person.
They said there were 40,000 people there in the end. They were in ballrooms all the way up the strip, watching it on closed circuit television as well.
Yeah,
how does it make you feel right now?
It makes me feel very proud, because I mean, if you remember the MGM Garden Arena, I think it seats 17,000. And when you think 40,000 Brits went over, you know, they didn't even, you know, they didn't even have, the majority didn't even have tickets. And like you said, they were watching it either on a big screen, you know, in one of the other hotels. And I think they just wanted to, even if they were just stood in the bar, just to savour the moment, to savour the atmosphere. And I think that's what it was. And I never get there's Brad Pitt at ringside, you know, and it's like, you know, I come from the council estate there in Manchester, and you know, when I see stuff like this, you know, you pinch yourself and say, did this really happen to little fat Ricky Hatton? You know, and it did, and it's wonderful. There's David Beckham there, just in the bottom left. You see him?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's makes me feel very, 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 very proud.
There's your mum in there, just behind him as well.
Right. Ideally, as I walk into the ring, me and Billy were talking before the fight. He said, "Listen, Ricky, you know, don't go mad. He's gonna want you to go mad, you know, so he can just pick you off. So don't just steam in." And you know, so that's what I was trying to do, trying to keep my game plan. Because I mean, Floyd was telling me that you know, if you steam in and run all over me, you're just one-dimensional. Ultimately, in the end, it was that style that was going to win it for me, ultimately, because you can't, you know, I was never going to outspeed him and I was never going to outbox him. You know, one thing I was going to do is if I outwork him and bully him if I got the chance.
The weigh-in was intense, if you remember the day before, where you had kind of promised the crowd a spectacular performance.
Yeah, well, Floyd's a bit of a bully in the media, from the media aspects, you know, promoting the fight, and not just with his mouth, you know, but sometimes he'll get right in your face, and you know, if he did that to you on the corner of Deansgate in Manchester, he'd probably get a right-hander, wouldn't he? But you know, you've got to, you know, your TV's there, you've got to keep your nerves, hold your nerves, and I think for the weigh-in, we went nose to nose, and he sort of like just went forward just that inch, just about me, and I thought, I'm not budging nowhere here. I'm not giving him the slightest bit of inclination that I'm nervous or my bottle's going or anything like that. So then I leant on him, and it was push and shove, and the crowd, 10,000 at the weigh-in, you know, the crowd, oh, you know, it was brilliant,
band.
yeah. And I think that was the start, Gareth, you know, when 10,000 went to the weigh-in. Man, I think that was the trend for crowds to go to weigh-ins. I think I started it. So,
Look at the shape you're in. It's amazing, isn't it?
I know, I wish it could come back. Gareth, to be honest with you. But no, it's... and I generally, before this, you know, for the Mayweather fight, you know, some people are just turning up, you know, for the biggest payday of the day, or, you know, people be grateful for fighting the great Floyd Mayweather. I wasn't grateful. I was in there thinking I was going to beat him and expecting to beat him. There was absolutely no doubt in my mind. I thought to myself, if I'm allowed to fight, maybe I won't outspeed him, maybe I won't outbox him. That goes without saying. But there's one thing I guarantee, because of the size of my heart and the engine and how hard we trained, if I was allowed to get close enough, he won't throw as many punches as me, and I was thinking that might be enough. I often wonder, you know, say, because I mean, Joe Cortez was from Las Vegas, same city as Floyd, and where the fight was. I often think, you know, if I'd have been in there refereeing and it was in Manchester, for instance, if it was in Manchester and I was refereeing an American fighter, and there was 40,000 singing, you know, Stars and Stripes, and you're supposed to be at home and booing our national anthem, I think if I was refereeing,
Might have had an effect.
It'd affect me, because I'm very proud of Manchester. We're proud of all our hometowns, like I've no doubt Joe Cortez and Floyd was. But I think a lot of people loved the Vegas, the Ricky Hatton, Floyd Mayweather Vegas experience. I think a lot of people loved it, except the Americans that were there on that night.
We took over, didn't we? Took over.
Yeah, and I think it must have been, who do these Brits think they are coming here? Who's this little Englishman coming here, fighting our hometown hero? And I think there was a massive effect in that, not just in the refereeing. And I'm not saying I would have won the fight anyway, but I think it altered the perception of the fight. I really do.
Here we go then, round one. You're straight into the action. Tell us about the intensity levels here that you brought straight away. Yeah. Boom.
Like I said, you know, I'm not going to outbox him, you know what I mean? But if I can move in on him, keep in his face and keep him backpedaling where he's using up energy. See, he's always on the move here. See, I landed a lovely jab there. So, I mean, and this is what I was talking about, and Billy said, try and ease into it, you know what I mean? So I'm making him miss, and landing another jab. Yeah. And I started off, just slipped his right, I started off really well. Now, if you look at there, Gareth, that's holding 2 1 half a dozen of the other, you know. Mm-hmm. So, and that left hook, that made me thought, listen, I can't stand off. The first left hook, as I was easing into it, the jab was working at first, but then he went bang with a left hook, and I thought, I'm not eating them all night.
Mid-range.
Yeah. I need to get on his chest or mid-range, because I mean, you do miss a few shots. There's that left hook again. It's the hand speed was absolutely incredible, and I thought to myself, I've got to just keep on him working. Hopefully down the home straight, he should tire. But it was like educated pressure, moving in, feinting, dropping, trying to throw me jab as I'm going in. So you can see me having my successes. That's exceptional what he was. He's dropping.
That right lead is brilliant of his, isn't it?
And he'd set it up beautiful with a jab to the body. He used to just keep poking you downstairs with a jab to the body. And, you know, the minute he found that he was in major, then he'd shoot a lightning right hand over the top. But see, my left jab was working exceptional in this first round. Little right hand over the top there, and you know, so
there you go. That moment where you stagger him with that jab in the first round.
I think he was a bit. I think it definitely caught him, but I think he was a little bit more. See, the jab's working a treat here, you know. And I think as the fight, the tactics were working. The tactics were working here, and the crowd were getting more wild and more loud. And Joe's not jumping in that much at this minute. Look, he stood there, and then he gets in when we're both, you know, in a clinch.
Let you fight.
But he did early on. But I can't help but think when it was slightly going my way, ever so slightly, I think he changed his. I think he changed. To be honest with you, I refuse. I mean, we can go on about the referee all night, and I think it would. I think it would overshadow what was a great occasion and ultimately a great night for me. You know, and I don't want to be like a sour grape to keep harping on with the ref, but I mean, if you got the biggest Floyd Mayweather fan stood in front of me now and they said, oh yeah, Joe refereed it bang on, I'd call him to his face a blatant liar. Because we've seen Joe Cortez, he's famous for letting the fight flow.
Yeah.
And look, never did, and it got worse. It got worse as the rounds went on.
They'd seen what you did to
Lovely
Costa
right
Zoo
hand by
all over.
Floyd,
Yeah, it was a lovely right hand. Yeah. Can you remember the intensity of these moments as you watch it?
I can remember the
back?
intensity, and I remember coming back to my stool at the end of the first round because I was finding the jab on a regular basis, and in the back of my mind, I was sat on the stool. I went, and I think I said to Billy at the end of round 2, he said he's not letting me fight. He's getting in pretty close. I mean, like, you know, as long as referees always say to me, if you've got one arm free and you're using it, you know, I'll let you fight, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and it just it got worse as the fight went on, and but bit by bit that slowly started eating away at me. And you know, it's Floyd. If you look at Floyd's work here, he's trying to hit me with the right hand, you know, the backhand from the outside. He's poking downstairs with a jab to the body. He's moving, trying to get a bit of distance.
Oh, good shot.
Yes.
Leaping left hook.
Yeah, so it was working, Gareth. But so ultimately the tactics are working, and traditionally I get stronger as the fight progresses. But ultimately this breaking, coming down the home straight, I was the one that was tired.
You could not afford to box him, could you? So
No.
you know, stand off and boxing, as you're saying. So
see, there was no reason to break that then.
Yeah.
Absolutely no reason whatsoever.
this is very odd here. He says he's going to take a point from both of you if you don't stop. Well, it's very odd, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be careful here because, you know, the fans will be watching this at home and they don't want to say, great programme with Ricky, all he did was moan about the referee. You know? but I don't think I need to harp on too much about it because I think it's clear for everyone to see. That lovely jab downstairs and the right will come over. It looked lovely. You know what I mean?
That's the first time he hit you with that lead right hard, yeah?
It was a work, you know, such a... I mean, he's known for his hand speed, you know what I mean, and his defence and everything like that. But it's the boxing brain of him, you know. He knew how to smother me work. He knew when to, you know, nick a breather and let the storm blow itself out. So he hit me on the back of the head there.
Yeah.
But
Left
in I think the 4th or 5th round, he hit me in the back of the head and he took a point off me straight away. So just everything seemed to be going wrong.
Mayweather knows he's in a fight here, though, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
You must have felt that. He knows he's got to fight me.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I was going in as the rounds were going by. I thought doing well here, and he'll fade.
And he starts to realise he can duck down to avoid you hitting him.
There's lots of things, you know. He ducked very cleverly. He ducked very low below the waist, which would let my shots, you know, sail over his head. But he knew when to, you know, like he's moving here, you know, try and bide a little bit of time. Then he'd grab me around the neck, look, holding me there. He'll have a little bit of a breather there. So he knew what to do cleverly and tactically, how to nick a little bit of a breather, and then he knew when to take his foot off the gas and then when to put it on the gas. It was very clever how he did it. I mean, mine was like full speed ahead, but if you're Floyd Mayweather, you're thinking, well, I've got to try and slow this fella down, which is what he's doing with his backhand. He said, and also, if Ricky's going to go at me like this all night, I've got to be very clever in how I nick a breather here and there because, you know, he wouldn't have been able to last the pace with me. But he's very clever how he played the game, if I'm brutally honest, yeah.
When you're into a fight, you know, you're into the 7th minute, you're into the 3rd round now. Can you still feel the crowd while you're doing that, or the intensity levels and your adrenaline? You're just focused on one man now.
I could feel the crowd because I mean everybody was, you know, whenever I got near, obviously it was, you know what I mean. Yeah. And I watched a lovely jab as well. As I was having my successes, the crowd would go more. I don't know what happened there. See,
he hit you after he told you to break.
You can see this is where the frustration's kicking in now. And you know, you can never lose your cool in boxing. It's the first thing you get taught for the first day you walk through the door as a young amateur. Never lose your cool, never lose your cool. But bit by bit, it was eating away at me, you know, and it's. But look how Floyd is, so clever here. On
shoulder blocking.
Yeah, you know, shoulder blocking. He's got his forearm in my face, which he pretty much had all night. But,
which Joe let him do, which he warned you against doing, hadn't he?
Yeah. So I think, but I think if you are a boxing fan, and you are a genuine boxing fan, you can, and if you go and watch Joe's previous fights, you've noticed that this seemed a little bit out of character, but Floyd was very, very clever in these early rounds. He thought, like I'm thinking I'm going to get stronger. Floyd must have been buying his time, trying to make me slipping and sliding with his back to the rope, bending his knees. Yeah, see,
that's why you want to be head on his chest, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he's fighting. I'm fighting. No one's holding. So let it rock on. But and Floyd was exceptional in close because that cross arm technique he had.
Yeah, and the shoulder
up easy
high,
for him to. He could pick that left up to the body. He could pick that left up to the body off. He could pick me left up to the head. And traditionally, when I used to change the angle to get the step to the side to get the pit of the stomach, he'd cross his arm over. It was
brilliant fighting IQ, isn't it?
The best, when they say the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali will probably go down as the greatest of all time for other reasons. But when you look at pure technical boxing, brain and ability, and you can't tell me there's anyone better than this guy. And I feel very fortunate and blessed that I found myself in the same era, having a good spell here, Floyd. See, he knew when he needed to bide his time and let the storm blow itself out a little bit, and then he knew when he had to choose them moments to put his foot on the gas. And
this is a lovely little sequence here, trying to get your punches away. Look, he's dirty enough, isn't he?
No, Floyd was good, And I think, listen, if I'm shoving my head in, and you shove your head back, fair play, And if I clip you with a little forearm, I'll hit you on the back of the head and the referee doesn't notice it, fair play. That's the game we're in, So I'm not going to complain at the things that he was doing. If you're going to get away with it, good luck to you.
So with 3 rounds in, how are you feeling now coming out for the 4th? Are you happy?
I think going into the 4th, I thought not much in it. You know what I mean? I think if I cast my memory back, I think after 5 rounds, I think the great Emmanuel Stewart, who was commentating for HBO at the time,
had your head.
Had me ahead after 5 rounds, and after 6 rounds it was pretty much even. When you're in a title fight such as that, if it got to like round 6 and the fight's even, I think to myself, I'm winning here because I normally come on strong, but it's when you're going in and you're making it, you're putting the pressure on, he's nailing you with backhands, he's nailing you with left jabs, and then the minute you work so hard to get in there and he breaks you, it breaks up.
Like here, he could leave you, couldn't he? Because you're both working, but he comes in again very quickly, because Floyd's realised if he ties you up, Cortez will step between. There you go, boom. Yeah. But you're working, aren't you?
Yeah,
We're moaning about the referee again.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, guys, if you're watching this. I can't help myself because I think if you are a boxing fan, look, we've both got an arm free each. If you've got an arm free each, use it. No problem. So, but he was very, very good. But I knew I was doing well at this stage, 4 rounds into the fight, see me combination there.
Yeah, nice.
Knew I was doing well, I knew I was in the fight, and the main thing is once you get in a fight that is so intense and a fight that is going to be so evenly matched, if you like, if it was, it's about even, round 4, 5, it's even. If it's even on points come rounds 11, 12, I've 9 times out of 10 I think that's good enough for me. He throws a lovely, see that little lean back right handy through there. God, that's
just to create the space.
Yeah, that stung a bit, and that's the difference of it, because he knew I was trying to smother him. He can't get his leverage off the chest, so that little pull back right hand, that's just, you can't teach that.
Denzel Washington standing up out of his seat in the background there.
Yeah. And the thing is, Floyd went through a few fights, I think, if you remember, around that time where he wasn't really impressing everybody. You know what I mean? He was saying, like, as long as you win and you get paid, that's all that mattered to me. And but I think when he fought myself and De La Hoya and people that would come and put it on him, I think we brought the best out of him. To be honest with you, you know, if Floyd fought a mirror image fighter of himself, you know, I mean, you wouldn't want to watch that, would you?
Exactly.
Stay
I
until
think this is
4 in
one
the
of his
morning
great
and watch
performances.
that. Yeah, and I think I'm proud to say I brought the best out of him. But they were 4 rounds down now, and you know, I think, you know, you can see all the Brits standing up. You know, they think at this stage you've got half a chance. But as I say, the referee was sort of like upsetting my rhythm. You know, wasn't leaving me on to fight. You know, for long periods. And ultimately when I think this is the round. If I'm not mistaken, did he take the point off in this round 5?
We're going to see in a minute, yeah.
And if you remember, I turned my back on the referee and Floyd. And I was just to say, where do you want me to hit him? You know what I mean? Because he's ducking low, he's rolling his shoulder over, he's nearly turning his back to me there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So where do you expect me to hit him? But
I thought you came out with more intensity in this round. You know, really looking to put it on him.
I did. I normally once. I'm far from a slow starter, Anthony, but I think after 2 or 3 rounds, I sort of like getting to my rhythm, and you can see my movement, even though he's catching me coming in. The punch volume, in my own mind, was to me this is working. This is you know. You're pushing Floyd Mayweather back, you're going to walk onto jabs and you're going to walk onto right hands. But my opinion was, if I get closer and throw 6, 7, 8, 9s and 10s, he may be landing 1, but if I'm throwing 7 to he's 1, do you know what I mean? It was, to me, I'd like to think it might have worked.
Still good with your footwork there, but still good with your footwork.
Yeah, well, I think,
shimmying in.
Yeah, well, I think I think my speed causing trouble, because obviously traditionally I'm a weight below, aren't I? You know, the light welterweight, and I was probably smaller than a lot of the opponents he fought. So I think even though I'm not known for my speed, I think my speed did work with him. So, you know, I mean, this is good. You know, he's getting half a block on there, to be fair, Floyd and everything like that. Which, you know, sometimes you punch volume, so like this. I think this is one of my best rounds.
Yeah, no, really great hook combinations in close,
Yeah.
and you've got your head on his chest most of this round.
See, if Joe would have let it stay, lovely jab on a backhand again. Look, see, this is what I mean about Floyd. How tactically sound he was. You know, he'd been on his back to the rope there for like 40, 50 seconds. You know, soaking it up, and that was a good, you know, spell of the fight for me. But then he'd feel, right, I've had a bit of a rest here on the rope, I've had a little bit of a mess about and a sway and a swing. Now it's time for you to have some back. And he was superb at knowing when to put his foot on the gas and when to take it off. And look, forearm in my face. I can't believe he got he got a warning there. Cheers, Joe.
Oh.
But you know, it's a fight.
And again.
Yeah, there it is, forearm again. But and you know, and I think, you know, he must have warned him, I think, about 4 or 5 times for that forearm. But then when I turned him, threw a punch at the back of the head, I had a point off.
I do remember the intensity level of this fight, the noise from the arena every time you threw a combination.
Yeah, every time.
People out of their seats the whole time.
Every time I got
drama,
near him,
wasn't there? It felt like drama.
Every time I got near him, the people stood up in the seats and the crowd roared and everything. It was there's the jab to the body, right hand over the top, coming a bit. There you go. He's so good at it, and he's not doing anything. His variety is not massively exceptional, but what he does is faultless, isn't it?
You say that, you know, that there was frustration kicking in, but there's nothing in your body language here to suggest that you...
Here's the point off, look.
Yeah, here we go.
Missed.
This is...
It actually missed. I turned him and he went through the ropes and
So that you get the point deducted here, saying you threw a punch.
Yeah.
Joe says you threw a punch
know,
at the back of his head while he was outside the ropes.
But, you know, that's the first time he warned me for the back of the head. I mean, we saw him in the round previous warn him for 2 forearms. But that's 1 punch at the back of the head. And you hear me go, there.
Now, I've never seen you do that before or since.
Because my head had fell off, Gareth. I was fuming. I thought, you know, and it was this this round when I'm going, look, what's he doing? Forearm. You know what I mean? And it was this, I think this was when the fight started dripping away from me. It absolutely dripping away. And my first words on the stool to Billy when I come back, I went, these are stitching us up here, Billy. I literally said to him, he said, keep your cool, Rick, keep your cool, Rick. He said, it's working to a degree. He said, keep your cool. He said, if your head goes, he said, you're going to be eating shots like there's no tomorrow. He said, keep doing what you've done from the first round. Jab as you're going in, because your jab's working as you're going in, and keep your cool. But by this time, you know, I sort of like forgot me jab and I forgot me little jinking with the feet, you know, in order to get in, you know. I'm still doing it a little bit, but I'm jumping
Good
in
left
there.
from him there,
just
wasn't
a little
it?
bit
Yeah.
over eager. But I sat down on my stool and it was just a minute of me just moaning to Billy about the whole thing. And
But do you remember though when you showed him your backside, Floyd even had a laugh?
yeah,
do you remember
yeah,
that? He
yeah.
actually laughed back at you.
There's a famous picture, and you can see it in some of the magazines somewhere over the world, where he actually, Floyd, as he goes through, someone took a picture of him looking through the rope, and he was laughing at the picture because I turned him and went like that, and he was like that through the rope. And I must try and find it. Look at me moaning there again. But my head had gone by this stage.
Well, your head has gone, but we've only got 20 seconds left in the round. But watch what you do. You don't even go back to your own corner here, first of all. Do you remember this? You go to his corner, because you've got words for everyone. The referee, him, his corner.
Well, I'm talking to myself. I mean, to be honest, they'll chuck you in prison for that today, wouldn't they? Talking to yourself. And there's me, round 6 against Floyd Mayweather. But I'm like, look, he's in again, pushing me. Literally pushing me away.
Watch this. You go. Look, what are you saying to him here?
I can't remember if I'm brutally honest, but my head had totally fell off my shoulders. And if you look at it from from the first round, Gareth, to maybe rounds 5, I'd like to think. I mean, I don't know what everyone else's opinion is, but I'd like to think, you know, up to about 6 rounds, 5 rounds, 6 rounds, there's not much in it, to be honest with you.
Correct.
Until this stage where my head had fell off, and you could just, as the rounds ticked on from here, this is round 7 now, and a lot of the rounds look the same pretty much. You know, me bullying Floyd, trying to nail me as I come in, trying to move his feet, you know, so to stay slightly out of range. And what he's so clever at, Gareth, and what I teach as I'm a trainer now, what I teach my youngsters that are just coming from the amateurs to the professionals, I say, listen, there's no point, you can't run around the ring like that for 12 rounds. You're wasting mountains of energy. But watch how Floyd, when he goes back, he eases back, he just stays in range. He doesn't go floating round the ring.
It's almost he knows exactly where he is in the ring, isn't it?
His judgment of distance is exceptional. He's planting his feet. See how he eases back? He eases back.
Teasing you in.
He eases back.
Yeah.
You know, where if he was running back, I'd have probably had more success because he'd have been using more energy. But his judgment of distance, whether he's fighting up close, you know, as we saw in the previous couple of rounds ago, he leant back to get that right hand in. There's a little bit of it. See, tried it once more there again, 4 hands going again. But he got a lovely little short left hook in there, and he's not bad himself in the first. So I think.
Good little right from him.
Look, he's having his successes in close here himself, you know. So I think the crowd would have got a lot more value for the money if he'd have just let us rock on, because he's not doing too bad himself, is he really? But it was a very, very grueling fight, and I was always one to set the pace in my fight, because I had such a good engine, and it was one of my best qualities. But I knew I had to set a far hotter pace than I'd ever done before in my life, and because you know, there's even, you know, with like Colazo, who's a master boxer, or sometimes like your Vince Phillips that are gonna box you from a distance. I still know that I'd still have my successes from a distance with people like that, but I knew with this guy, I knew from a distance I'm going to come second best pretty much all the time. And so the game plan was to just get in his chest and try and throw him out his stride, throw more punches, and see how Joe's going in a little bit more often as the rounds tick by now. And that loved beautiful left hook.
Speed, still got speed there. This was his most aggressive round against you so far, wasn't it, in the fight?
Because I think he could see that. You don't know, because you can tell when you're in the clinches, you know. you can feel the fighters breathing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can lean on them, and from a strength perspective, you can tell whether they're weakening a little bit.
It's an instinct, is it?
And that's exactly a great word. And that's exactly what I think it was. He must have known that my head had gone a little bit. I think he knew that I was breathing a little bit more heavier. I must have lost a little bit of more venom in my punches, you know what I mean? And a bit more strength in the clinches. This is when Floyd started to up the pace and started to pull away ultimately, you know. But yeah, that's.
He's very aggressive in this round.
I'm like a rhythmic fighter, you know. You see me bounce, and I'm feinting and moving and out my feet, slip and slide and feinting and feint out, and, you know. But when that's being
Disrupted.
Yeah. You know, it had me blowing out my arse, to be honest with you, which normally coming down the home straight, I'm the one that's normally got plenty in the tank.
Yeah.
But because of the way this was refereed, coming down the home straight, I was holding on.
You have to ship a lot of punishment here in this round.
This is his best round.
Yeah,
Jumped to the body right over the
yeah,
top, beautiful. And those were solid right hands.
His body weight's forward now, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. He's holding his feet. Well, in the early rounds he felt he had to give ground, but now he's holding his feet a little bit more. He's putting more venom in the shots, and that's why he'd let the storm blow itself out a little bit in the early rounds. You know, I think it was a case of go on, Ricky, go on, and then this time a little bit like when I fought Box Costa Zoo, Gareth. I knew at round 8, that. He wasn't as hard in his punches, he wasn't as hard in the clinches, you know, and he was breathing very, very heavy inside, and that's when I knew when to put my foot down, and Floyd knew exactly when to put his foot down in this fight, and that's what he's doing now. But as ever, you know, I'm still going in there, and I'm still trying to work. Them right hands were really solid. And don't forget, you know, being hit by a welterweight, I'm normally used to 10 stone lads hitting me, you know what I mean? So you can imagine what with the infight, the grueling, the pushing, the shoving, how draining it is for both of us. When it gets to this stage of the fight and you're eating solid right hands now, you know, there must have been like 4 or 5 of them around I was taking, and that's, you know, ultimately that's going to take it. That little check hook he got me here in the corner.
He was just feeling it for the end of the fight. Yeah.
I was just rushing in that little right look. Yeah. And
so there's an assault from him here.
Yeah, and I think this is when pretty much, I think the fight was over, and it was just a case of me trying to dig in.
Well, you come back in this round now at the end. I think you get him back on the ropes now, and you are aggressive for the last 20 seconds of this round.
If I remember in this round, if I don't remember rightly, there's me throwing shots, you know what I mean, on the ropes. Last 10 seconds here. And there's me attacking again. Yeah. And I think he come to the corner and said something to me, if you don't show me something, I'm going to stop it. And I thought, stop it? What for?
I know you'd been throwing, hadn't you? You said you weren't throwing enough punches.
You know. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I mean, I think I was got through most in the last 10 seconds there than him, you know. So, and it's like, I know I keep saying I'm
are you complaining about the refereeing?
But
should we change the ending of the fight here? Can we change the ending of the fight?
But you could, you know, as we've dissected it bit by bit about, you know, what the ref should have done and what he shouldn't have done. But you can see, ultimately, it's not just what the ref is doing to me. It's not just what the ref is doing to me. You know, ultimately, it's the fact that, you know, every punch I threw, he either got half a shoulder or half a block or half an elbow or half a lean back. And even sometimes when the punches did land on him, because he's so exceptional defensively, you know, he was always taking the sting out of him. If he copped for one, he'd roll with it, and he'd shoulder it, and he'd block it. And ultimately, it's not just the breaking of the referee stepping in and breaking it. Ultimately, that's probably one of the main things that did time his wonderful defensive ability. Seeing he's getting me with the solid jabs, you know, he wasn't getting the jab in early, in the early rounds, but you can see how as I'm getting tired, I'm forgetting my own jab. My head's not moving as I'm walking in. I'm not fainting with my feet as you know, as we mentioned in a few. It's just full steam ahead now because I'm feeling tired. I can see the round 9 and feeling right at the end of the tunnel. I can see the end bit, but I think Floyd at the minute now is just hitting me with solid singles at the minute. And he's just trying to find that one punch, but I mean, Joe Cortez in the round before said to me, you need to throw some punches. I'm not doing a bad job, though.
And the corner say to you as we close this round that you've got to stop, or you've got to start winning every round now. They start to tell you that they think you're behind now, and you've got to win the round.
I knew I was behind. I think up to about midway, I thought there's not much in it. But then, after the midway and the point off, and he started pulling away massively, and he started hurting me too, if I'm brutally honest. But I mean, once I'm in my mind, conscientiously on my stool, about round 9, round 10, I can't remember what round it was, but Oscar De La Hoya come to the corner, and I thought going into like round 10, maybe I was 3 rounds down. That's what I thought in my mind, in the heat of the action, in the fight. And Oscar De La Hoya said, on all 3 scorecards, you're 6 rounds down. And my heart just sank. I thought, 6 rounds down. And Billy said, Ricky, we were never going to win this tonight. He said, listen, just jab and move, slip and slide, stay safe. He said, we'll see the final bell, we live to fight another day. And I said, well, from 6 rounds down, Billy, I said, I need the knockout.
Yeah, you went to win.
Yeah, I said, I need the knockout. And Billy said to me, don't do this to me, Rick, please.
Look, they're still with you. Everyone's still with you. Can you, as we go into the tent, look at them, it's amazing. It was incredible atmosphere. Can you go back into your body now for this 10 round
Absolutely.
and tell us what it was like being in your body?
And I jumped off faster, Gareth, there. I jumped off there, had a little spring as I come out the corner.
Yeah.
Jumped off faster. And it's the crowd. I swear to God, it's the crowd. When you've been nailed, like he's nailing me at this point, and then you sit down on your stool, you know what I mean? And then you hear, there's only one Ricky Hatton, and it's not rubbish. I was always so proud of the support that got me. And when they used to, for the first minute, I'd be like, bang, bang, bang.
Give you an extra 2 rounds, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he'd give me an extra. He did. He'd give me an extra burst. And see the rounds. Even though I'm fading a little bit, Floyd's on top and he's nailing me with some good shots. I think the rounds are still relatively competitive. But even though he's turned the tide and he's well on top of me now, I think. I just wish I just saw the final bell. I think it was here it is, beautiful, lovely check up, and he'd landed that punch on me several times in the rounds previous, and he just quite didn't get the money spot, on me chin, but he just timed it beautiful, and I thought, right, let's try and get close to him and hold him. My legs are all over the show, and to his fair, I come off, you see my legs stumble there, and these weren't necessarily hard shots. I mean, Costa who hit me with shots a damn sight harder than that. But what it was the accumulative effect of punches. It was me hitting fresh air so often because of his movement, his defensive skills, everything like that. It was as exceptional as that jet cut was. I think it was more the damage they'd done in other areas in the previous rounds, you know what I mean? It saturated me bit by bit. Like when you chop a tree, you don't just chop it down with one swing, you just go ding, 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 ding.
And eventually...
And that's exactly what he did to me in that fight.
I mean, it's an extraordinary privilege.
And to see Floyd, to see him on his knees praying, praying there, makes me proud to say, listen, the greatest of all time, I give him a good fight. So that's good enough for me, I guess.
It's a real privilege to watch this back with you, having been there as a reporter as well. And what in these moments now, I mean, you guys are lovely with each other. You're sportsmen afterwards. Does it bring emotion back in you?
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the greatest moments of my life. Certainly, my boxing life. You know what I mean. And if you know the history of myself, how when the defeats started coming, you know what I mean, and there was other things in my personal life that were going wrong, but when the defeats started coming and that, how hard it was for me to accept, and I fell off the rails a little bit, which is well documented. I don't want to go on about that as I've gone on about the ref enough as it is. So I don't want to go down that road.
This is not an intervention today.
But the point I'm making is like, from how I felt after that fight and what it led to in my personal life, to being able to sit here now, Gareth, with you and watch it and just sit here beaming with pride, that, I had the best fighter that's ever lived, worried for a few rounds, makes me feel extremely, extremely proud. And, Floyd Mayweather, I don't think I'll ever be going for a pint with him. I don't think he'll ever be on my Christmas card list, but I can say what being born in the Floyd Mayweather era, what has done for my life, for my family's life, my kids' lives, and what the fortunate things they're able to get in the life. I'll be ever grateful to Floyd Mayweather, because if he hadn't fought the best, my kids, they'd have been all right. But I mean, what I'm saying is, they've got the life that they've got is because Daddy fought the greatest.